Good Thursday morning, everybody. Thanks for kicking it off with us right here on Undisputed. I'm Jen Hale, that's Skip Bayless and Shannon Sharp. Good morning, guys. How are we?
Good morning, good morning.
Ho hum. I win 2 more cases of Diet
That was
Dew.
one case. It was one case.
Yeah, I think it was 2 cases. Thanks to the new MVP favorite, Joel Embiid. I've been trying to warn you, and you wouldn't listen.
No, Skip, don't do that. I said, look, no, we talked about this. I said the season's not over. There's a month still left, and a lot of things can change.
So
But
you
right,
flipped around to Embiid now.
I mean, right now, you see how the Nuggets are playing. They've lost their
really?
last 4 or 5 ball games. And Joel Embiid has been playing unbelievable.
Thank you. I prevail again.
At the time,
Shots fired early on. I love it. And we are going to get to all of the drama in the association in just a minute, guys. But let's start with the drama unfolding between Green Bay and New York in the NFL this morning. Yesterday, we talked about it. Aaron Rodgers went on the Pat McAfee show. His quote, his intention was to play and to play for the New York Jets. And I haven't been holding anything up, Rodgers says. It's the compensation the Packers are trying to get. Whew, Shannon, Aaron Rodgers revealed a lot. What's your reaction to everything he had to say?
Typical Aaron Rodgers. Somehow, the Packers wronged him. No, they're just tired of your BS. They're tired of your bull jive, and you retiring, unretiring, and they're tired of you trying to have control of their organization. Skip, first he says, well, he's not offended by the Packers' actions the last few years. Then he said, well, I decided to not retire because they wanted to move on. Well, it sounds like you might be offended. You want to retire, you want to play to spite them. Because, Skip, he said when he went into the darkness, he was 90% retired. But then he decided to retire, not to retire, because he see they wanted to move on with someone else.
Oh, aha.
Well, you know what? That's what the Packers do. They like to move on 1 year too soon instead of 1 year too late. You know what, Skip? I think I like to pull my money out of the market after it crashed. Of course, that's what teams want to do. Why would they want you to die on the vine on their watch? And they would have kept this, Skip. They would have. I believe if Aaron Rodgers would have behaved in a manner of professionalism, I believe Aaron Rodgers could have, have a Coach K career. I'm going to retire. Boom, no problem. But the way he's behaved over the last 5 years, as soon as the Packers thought Jordan Love was able to do a little bit.
That's correct.
Yeah, let's move on. It's time to move on. And then Skip, I can't believe this man went out there and said all the things that he said. But what he did is that he gave the Packers all the leverage. Because he said, I decided Friday that I want to be a Jet. And so now, guess what? All the fans, y'all got to do this deal. Packers could ask for like 3 first-rounders, then they almost backed in a corner because Aaron Rodgers has said, I decided I want to play for the Jets. What leverage did the Jets have, Skip? He says he wants to play. The fans are clamoring. I mean, New York was going crazy yesterday. I just can't believe, man. Skip, I get it. Everybody doesn't have the best relationship with the organization. But to somehow for Aaron Rodgers to feel that they've wronged him with all the compensation that they've given him and all the players that he wanted, that some of them, they wanted to move on. And I think that kind of rubbed him the wrong way. They moved on from Jordy Nelson. They moved on from a lot of the guys that he was really close with. But you don't build a team with closeness. If you don't feel the guys can contribute at a level, it's time for you to move on. But he feels that they've wronged him. And so in order to get back at them, I'm going to play. How you figure you're hurting the Packers? They wanted to move on. You've been talking about moving on. They give you the opportunity, and then all of a sudden you're like, I want to play. No, you don't want to play here anymore. It's the same, Skip, remember the Brett Favre situation all over again. He retired, and then it says, okay, we're going to move on. Well, I want to come back and compete for my job. No, we've moved on. And it was the same thing probably that was in 2008. So that was like 13 years ago. But they didn't wrong you, Aaron. They did not. They just got tired of your bull jive, and they were ready to move on. They believe they have an adequate backup that's ready to come in and perform at a high level, and they need to see this. And so you moved on, they've moved on, and I'm glad we have finality to this situation, Skip. Is he going to retire? I don't believe there was a 90% chance Aaron Rodgers was going to retire. He was not walking away from $60 million.
Bingo. Thank you. Preaching to choir across the table. Mr. Sharp, allow me to say, just for the record, biggest picture, I first guessed this guy 14 years ago, 2 years before he won his long ago, far away Super Bowl. Back on the old show, on the old network, I said, this guy is a blame-deflecting, finger-pointing diva with low leadership intangibles, who is a master media manipulator, and who I believe comes up short, comes up small when it really, really matters.
Right.
And I had to fight with the guy on the old network and then the guy on the new network about what a transcendent thrower of the football he is. And he is. He is. I still think he has some of the most awful footwork in the history of the National Football League, but he could get away with it because of his arm talent.
Right.
Because of the swagger with which he played football. I give you all the above.
Could we both be right? He's a transcendent thrower, and he's everything you said to preface that.
But in the end, my side prevails. And in the end, a guy who's won 4 MVPs just got unceremoniously shipped out of town.
Right.
It used to be called Titletown, long ago, far away, when your brother played in Titletown. He said so much wrong yesterday that we don't have enough show for the two of us to break it down and tear it apart and skewer it all the way it should be skewered. But to your first point, yesterday, Aaron bleepin' Rodgers, sometimes you can do that as a positive or a negative. This was a negative bleepin' Rodgers.
Yes.
Was vintage, insufferable Aaron bleepin' Rodgers. And my favorite quote, if you just allow me to start with this one, even though this one didn't get a lot of acclaim or attention yesterday, he was knocking down the notion that he gave the Jets a demand list or a wish list of players. He was just skewering that. And he says, and I quote, "My only demand is for transparency." You, transparency, after you lied or duped us about vaccination?
Thank you.
Transparency?
Thank you.
I mean, this guy is all not about transparency when it comes to his dealings, his business.
Yes.
Right?
Right.
Okay. Thank you very much. Now, to your point about I went into the darkness. He's kept us all in the darkness for years. And by the way, big picture, he was making the case yesterday he was the greatest Packer ever. And you can certainly make the case, but it's him versus Favre. You can go back and forth.
Starr.
You could, but again, Bart Starr was more of a game manager type because he was surrounded by a whole lot of talent. But we could go on and on. Okay, whatever.
Yes.
I don't even care right now about that because he just got shipped out. That's what just happened.
Right.
So it's no time to reflect on how great he was as a Green Bay Packer.
Right. But I thought he didn't care about that stuff.
I know, but he did just.
He does.
He just eclipsed Brett Favre as the biggest offseason headache in Packers history.
Yes.
And here it is again. And we hark back to that infamous quote from Mark Murphy, their sort of CEO, the man in charge upstairs, even though the team is owned by the public, by the fans. But Mark Murphy, once upon a time, was quoted as saying he called Brett Favre after they hired LaFleur and said, "Don't you be the problem. From this point forward, don't you be the problem," because supposedly Aaron was not involved in the choosing of young LaFleur.
Correct.
And that was the same young LaFleur who, during the NFC Championship game against Tom Brady, they get it 1st and goal at the 8, and he goes, incomplete, incomplete, incomplete. And it's 31 to 23. 23.
Yeah, 23 at the time.
Right?
They kicked the field goal. You're right.
Yeah. The young coach says, "I've seen enough. We're going to take you're going to take the field goal. Wait a second. The math doesn't work here. You're going to make it 31 to 26. You're not going to go for it on 4th and 8. It's late in the game. Are you sure you're going to get the ball?" No, they didn't get the ball back.
Didn't get the ball back.
Okay. All right. So he says he came out of the darkness retreat into the light. And he has a revelation that I was 90% retired, but no, I think I want to play. Well, yeah, your revelation is you're due $60 million. $60 million. Who wouldn't have a revelation?
Right.
It's sitting right there on the table.
Yeah.
$60 million. Yeah. And he says, it came to my attention through players around the league that they were actually shopping me. No, it didn't. They were already shopping.
They were publicly shopping
They
you.
were before you went to darkness. Shannon, we did story after story inside breaking news from inside
within
sources
the organization, yes.
that they're ready to move on. How many times did we hear it?
So Skip, if it took the players around the league telling him they were shopping him, he didn't need to go to darkness. He was already in darkness because everybody knew they were shopping him.
He was the last
him.
one. He was the last one. So he's the classic spin doctor. He's going to spin it back into himself as a victim. And I loved what Nancy Armour wrote at the bottom of her column. It was all about him being the victim. But I'm going to quote her. For someone who insists he's not a victim, Rodgers sure can play one well. Well, bingo. Yes. Thank you.
Absolutely.
He's always the victim. It's always... Don't blame me. They're the ones holding up the deal. Don't look at me.
Yeah, now the Packers got to get the compensation. Skip, I thought you was gonna go where they said the demands. Well, I didn't ask for a demand. They said wish list. I just told them some of the players that I would like to play with. That's what a wish list is.
It is. I don't know.
It's like the kids giving their parents a Christmas list. They're offering them a wish list of what they would like. They didn't say, you better get this, this, and this, and this. It's a wish list of things: a train, a Barbie, an easy makeup, and a skateboard, a baseball glove. Skip, it's just a wish list. I'm just telling you some of the things I would like. I didn't have any demands. No. So you didn't wish for Mercedes Lewis. You didn't wish that they signed Alan Lazard. You didn't wish for a Randall Cobb. You didn't say, well, who would like to play with OBJ?
That's what he said.
Bro, Skip, what are we missing? Are we missing something? And isn't that what good organizations do? They move on from a player. Bill Walsh was one of the first ones in NFL to do it, Skip. He said you move on a year earlier as opposed to a year later.
Okay.
We saw that just 3 years ago with New England and Tom Brady. And Tom went on to win 2 more division titles and a Super Bowl, and he was Super Bowl MVP. So clearly, he wasn't at the end of the tracks.
No, he was not. And yet, Aaron's quote was, this organization likes to move on a year ahead. That's the old Branch Rickey quote from